While living in the wilderness, Father Arsenie strove to observe the traditions of the church. Thus, on days when fish was allowed, he would take a fish bone he had preserved and boil it in a can, drinking the water. In doing this, he could say he had something with fish. Then he would dry the bone and keep it for next time. And after so much use, the bone no longer possessed even the smallest flavour of fish. Yet he was keeping the rule. He had learned from his mother the saying, "At least a fish bone should get in your mouth on fish days." In the wilderness, I saw how little a man needed to live. A shepherd's knapsack filled with rusks was my only source of food. I'd eat a bit of rusk, and it sustained me for a whole day. On rare occasions, I'd find mushrooms that grew on trees. We called them trout. They were like bananas, very tasty. Once I found some mushrooms and dried them by the stove. I had improvised a stove, stacking up some stones and placing an iron plate on top. I kept those mushrooms for the winter, but after eating them, I felt ill. Occasionally, I found a dried crab, and that was a treat. In the summer, I drank water from the spring. These huts were built near springs of water. In the winter, I melted snow and drank the water. One time, Father Arsenie went looking for mushrooms. As he was returning, he wandered into a thicket, unable to see 2 feet in front of him, and got lost. He began to pray fervently to the Mother of God, and all of a sudden, the cloudy sky became clear. He saw and recognized a mountain in the distance. This enabled him to reorient himself. Exiting the thicket, he realized that if he had advanced another 50 feet, he would have fallen off a cliff. But the Mother of God had protected him. On numerous occasions, he was saved from the wild beasts, which come not to bite you, but to devour you. Nonetheless, the greatest danger in the wilderness was not the beasts, but the devil. Having been saved from countless dangers since childhood, caused him to later say, "I'm 96 and I've examined my past the best I could, and I was amazed, humbled, seeing God's presence. I've seen God's work in everything. My encounters with wolves, with bears, my 14 years spent in prison, the years in the wilderness. I would often look attentively at a bug, small as the tip of a needle, and say, 'Look, God knows it, and there are millions and trillions like it.' On occasion, he would go to a ravine, taking refuge in the cave of Saint Theodora during times of heavy snowfalls. Later, he recounted, 'It's a great thing to see places where people have struggled. I stayed for some time in the cave of Saint Theodora. I would climb on a rock where there was a cave with water, and the water would not stop dripping, although it had no collecting pool. And I would also drink from the place where the saint used to drink. I had read somewhere that a deer cannot give birth if she hears a leaf falling. The noise bothers her. I didn't quite understand this saying then. When I ended up in the wilderness, I could hear a leaf falling on other dried leaves, and I would tremble. Only then did I understand this saying. You know, I don't hear very well. Some members of my family even had hearing problems. That trembling at the fall of a leaf was not due to sensory perception, which would have been difficult even for a person with perfect hearing, and more so for Father Arsenie. It was by virtue of spiritual purification, of extraordinary discernment, and of constant watchfulness. I was afraid to tell people that I had been in the wilderness. You have to know the voice of the forest, a silent voice. That you may know only if you have a great spiritual depth. As a man, you must acquire the identity of the forest, otherwise you cannot survive. When you go off and become a hermit in the forest, to live a life pleasing to God, the forest is no longer a mere landscape of beautiful old trees. In that moment, the forest has to receive you. You have to unite with it. The thick trees have to cover you, to protect you. There are times when you encounter bears in the forest, and you have to hide behind a large tree. You have to do this immediately and in a perfect silence. Otherwise, the beast will tear you apart. Once a Russian hermit visited Father Arsenie at his monastery, seeking a profitable word. Father Arsenie wanted to test him, and so he asked, "Tell me, what is the voice of the forest?" The hermit trembled. He understood what Father Arsenie was asking him. Father Arsenie would meet with Elder Cleopa from time to time. They would confess each other and commune every 2 to 3 weeks, as they had the holy mysteries with them. Once a month, a good Christian from the neighbouring village would bring them some food. Although there were many wolves in the area, the man did not fear going into the deep forest, trusting the prayers of the 2 hidden hermits. Father Arsenie would recount his life to Elder Cleopa, with its temptations and sufferings. In our wandering through the mountains, I would tell Father Cleopa about my sufferings, imprisonments, and about the death of my brother. He wept with me. Elder Cleopa told him, "Brother Angel, I have learned from your life as much as I have learnt from the Papacioc. God is great, and He will help us to continue our journey until the very end."
Am trăit în pustii când rânjeam lupul la 10 metri și nu rânjește să te muște lupul, să te mănânce. Și toate de ăștia că n-aveai nicio parte decât cerul. Eu care am priceput glasul pădurii, așa, care e înfrățită cu tine cu orice mijloc de apărare era pădurea, un glas mut care nu poți să te încercești dacă ești într-o mare trăire. Așa, astea nu sunt niște minuni, că eu încă trăiesc de atâta suferință, că a fost groaznic. Dar ce vreau să vă spun?